Graham and Josh, it's so exciting to have you today to talk about really economic development in Northwest Arkansas. We live in such an exciting time. You know, I want to tell just a quick story about each of you, and then I'd like you to talk just a little bit briefly about where you are today, what you're doing right now. But when Graham first moved to town, he was the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce,
right.
The Bentonville Chamber of Commerce, and I met him, and just really, I could tell he was extremely smart and the kind of person we need running the Chamber of Commerce here in Bentonville. But so my wife and I took he and his wife Lisa to dinner, and one of my children babysit his kids. And he just did a absolutely fantastic job of running the Chamber of Commerce, and he did several things since then that I'll let him talk about in a moment. So at any rate, given what we're talking about today, he's the perfect person. Josh, again, another person I was just super impressed with from the beginning. Josh had a company, a successful company, IT company, in Salt Lake City, and a local company in Bentonville purchased it. He came here, and they realized he is really good. He should be running this combined company, so he did. He became he ran the company, was the president, and then a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I was at Blake Street House, minding my own business, and Josh came up to me, and I think, or did someone introduce you to me?
Me and you met through Michael Palladino at some point a while ago.
Okay.
So in my head, you might know who I was.
Okay, vaguely.
Yeah.
But he came up to me and said, "Hey, I'd like to chat with you about an idea I have." And when I heard his idea, I thought, I've been here, I moved here in 1994. Supply chain management is my area, and I hadn't thought of this. What is wrong with me? But Josh is a man who's really good at coming up with good ideas and then executing on them. And he said, I think this should be the retail value chain capital of the world. He said, in fact, I think it is. It's just not marketed that way. And then we talked about what we meant by retail value chain. This really resonated with me. So, at any rate, Graham, let's start with you.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about what happened between when we were first having dinner together and now.
Well, first off, I want to say that, getting to know you, I was immediately inspired because I had not been around someone from academia that thought about doing things so differently and was so willing to embrace new ideas and new approaches. And that inspired me, but it also was like proof to me that I had moved to the right place, because that's what I saw in Northwest Arkansas, was a region that, we do a lot of riding bikes, right? This region pedals downhill.
Yeah.
You don't coast. You pedal downhill, you try new things. And then you iterate and you evolve and you move. So I was very fortunate to lead the Bentonville Chamber, Greater Bentonville Area Chamber, for roughly 4 or 5 years. I then worked for a family office in Bentonville in the policy space, in the advocacy space, and then left about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and have been a solopreneur. I thought about my North Star, and I want to do work that supports helping folks earn more, learn more, and live well. I think that workforce and business, the foundation of that is the lives that we get to live. We have to be healthy, we have to be smart, and we have to make a good living. And the more people that do that, the more successful we're all going to be. Now, recently, because of that work, I got closer to an individual, Jim Smith, who then introduced me to his wife, Rebecca Hurst, who introduced me to their chief operating officer, Kristen Baldwin. They have a successful M&A and wealth and business law firm, Smith Hurst, and they were thinking about how they could better serve their clients. So yesterday, or a couple of days ago, we went public with a company that is called Emeraude. Emeraude is French for emerald. This is the idea, we live in the land of Oz, right? So thinking about the Wizard of Oz, the trip is going to be different than you think it's going to be. And it may be a new land. You're going to need some partners. And those partners are going to have strengths and weaknesses. But when you come together and you work together, you have the right direction, you can get to that end. And that end is the Emerald City, right? So what do? We're a multifamily office. We have business professionalization skills. So if you're looking to be acquired, if you're looking to exit, if you're looking to attract capital or execute on capital while still innovating, we can handle those complexities, if you will. Not a fractional CFO, but more a wraparound full suite of services to help you professionalize your company. Scaling companies. People have asked me if we're an accelerator. I would say no, there are groups that do that really, really well. But we are an accelerant. And then the last thing is what they brought me in to do from a strategy side. So many times, if you want to do something big in a place like Northwest Arkansas, you're going to take your shot. I can save you a lot of time, resources, and headaches because I know the lay of the land. So it's truly community development strategies, community engagement strategies, connectivity, and then economic development and incentives and policy stuff for successful individuals and businesses.
Well, I know Jim and Rebecca, and I've known Jim for a very long time. Very impressive people. What a great combination to have the three of you, and who else?
All four of us. So there's four partners: Jim, Rebecca, myself, and Kristen Baldwin. She's the chief operating officer at Smithhurst.
Oh, okay.
So for the last dozen years, and Jim and Rebecca would tell you this, she's kept their ship afloat and operating at a high clip while they go out and serve their clients.
What a neat idea, though.
It's great.
That's very creative.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You were talking about earn more, learn more, and live well.
That's right. That's right.
I like that. And, it's interesting because I believe that learning more and living well result in earning more.
100%.
And actually, both of you, I think, are role models in that way. You're both very healthy. You live healthy. I know, Graham, you are a big-time cyclist. Amazing.
Yeah.
You have been since way before I met you. And Josh is extremely in good shape. He'll beat anyone in Northwest Arkansas in pickleball.
Oh, no.
I don't think anyone can beat him in Northwest Arkansas. And if you're
bold.
listening to this...
That's bold.
but you're both living well. And you're always learning. I know both of you do that, and I think that leads to living well. When I look at all the students I've had over the past 30 some years, if they have that orientation towards learning, lifelong learning, and living well, everything else follows.
Mm-hmm.
If you work hard, you work smart. And the other thing I noticed about you, and I'll mention this about Josh as well, you surround yourself with amazing people.
Very fortunate to have amazing people around me.
I mean, your new entity, wow, these are great people. And I know Josh does that too. One of Josh's best friends is Michael Palladino, who was one of the founders of the company that bought your company.
Right.
And they've become good friends. That doesn't always happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? But it says a lot about them as individuals. So, as I said, when I met Josh, he came up to me at Blake Street House with a great idea. We talked for a couple of hours, and I loved his idea, but I have people pitch me ideas all the time. Most of them never go anywhere. what was really different about Josh, of all the people I've known, I would put him in the top percentile for being able to execute. Because he had a great idea, but then I saw that, things started coming to fruition. I'm thinking, what did I commit myself to here? And things got real busy. But tell us a little bit about the gap there and what you're doing now.
Yeah, happy to. I want to do what Graham just did, which is, this is a unique combination of folks that come from different perspectives and different places inside of this region. Graham, you've led the chamber. Matt, you've led the business school. I haven't done anything cool like that.
Yeah,
right.
But it's interesting that you both have private and kind of ESO or entrepreneurial support organization and or university kind of roles you've played. I'm in that same bucket. So right now I'm managing partner at Fieldbook Studio, which is a $10 million studio launching 5 startups. We're on company 5 right now, actually. And then those companies get incubated over a period of time. They're all in the retail space in some capacity, or in the retail value chain space in some capacity. And our mission really is to incubate those businesses so that we can be a part of the next, I'm going to say, 50 years of this region, right? The analogy I've used a lot in the past is we are trying to build a music festival card out. And right now we've got some huge font, great headliners with Walmart, Sam's Club, Tyson, JB Hunt, ArcBest, the list goes on beyond those. But it's a little bit like we have, and this isn't a knock on them, these are bands from the 70s, right? If you're building a music festival card. Still great bands, doesn't change anything.
What a great metaphor.
And we need that up and coming, right? We need the bar scene. We need, this is really feeling good with your music background.
Love it.
and we need that, the next size typeface font on that lineup card. And you got to stack those different retail businesses, and in my opinion, they can be any business. And I know we're working on new capability, industry capabilities right now through different efforts. But retail's at the heart of this. That's what I care about. And that's what we're trying to contribute to at Fieldbook. We're trying to help build that bar scene and that next click up. And we hope some of these companies go on to be top employers in the region in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years and beyond. So that's why I do what I do. And then prior to that, yes, I was at Rev Unit, which is what brought me to town. Michael Palladino is one of the co-founders there. And then, yes, also, a local player in the retail value chain space, but from the software development side. So we built a lot of apps for Walmart and Sam's Club and other retailers like HEB out of Texas and Zappos out of Las Vegas, and Amazon through Zappos. But yeah, that's what I'm doing.
So could you give us some examples of some of the types of companies you've created through Fieldbook?
Yeah, and I don't want to kill all of our great time chatting about different topics, sharing things about Fieldbook. But yes, Trive is focused in the Trive, led by Justin Urso, who you guys both probably know. I know you know.
Oh, yeah.
Used to lead the McMillan Studio.
That's right.
He's building a platform that's both technology-enabled and also services-enabled, connecting brands and retailers. So where brokers, retail brokers, brand representatives, they go by a lot of names, but this town is full of brokers, retail brokers in particular, and it essentially helps brokers manage that relationship, or Tribe itself can play the role of the managed service. It can actually be the role inside of there with technology. So that's Trive. Coaxial Collective is in the creator space, led by Myra Dallas, who you both probably also know.
Oh, absolutely.
She was the former CEO of Acorn Influence, which got acquired by New Engine. And ironically, New Engine is the sponsor of an event we're facilitating called Embark Summit. I'm sure we'll talk more about that. But it's in the YouTube creator space, connecting brands with endemic audience. So it's retail-centric because we're talking to CPGs. CPGs want to reach new audiences. YouTube is the fastest growing connected TV viewership in American living rooms. I don't know if you have that, if that experience is authentic to your own lives.
Yeah, I can relate.
Yeah, it used to be that iPads and phones were where YouTube were watched, and now it's devices like this right here. So that's a continued change. They own like 12% of all viewership on connected
Amazing.
TVs. And so That's a platform that's helping brands connect with the right audiences. And then our third company is called Umami. It's in the, I'll get shorter winded here, the product innovation space for CPG. So helping CPGs innovate in new product line extensions or category extensions. So if you're Aquafina and you want to get into teas, right? That's a new category, or you could maybe consider that a line extension, but you need a new product to continue growing your top line. So CPGs are always looking at, how do I leverage my existing capabilities, my existing skills, and how do I go after new opportunities that exist? The platform is an AI platform that allows you to identify gaps in the market that tap into what you're good at. And then our fourth company, I can't tell you about yet. It hasn't been officially announced yet, but we'll announce that one soon. And then fifth company will happen sometime in the next couple months.
Well, that's exciting.
Nice.
And for those listening, a venture studio is different than venture capital,
Right.
Or an accelerator, because they actually create a company and then find a CEO to run it. And one of the challenges always is finding CEOs.
Yes.
And one thing we need in Northwest Arkansas, talking about economic development here,
Right.
we need more leaders. Right now I'm talking to two leaders that have made a difference in economic development in Northwest Arkansas. And then being in business education for my career, I've seen this need for leadership. And I want to talk a little bit about that later. But here's the thing I'll say. A lot of times people can say, because there's at least one or two other venture studios here. There's also a lot of companies that are needing CEOs, needing leaders because they've grown, and they maybe want to exit or hand it off. Leadership, it is true, we're all born with certain personality traits and capabilities that may help us lead better, but everyone can become a better leader. Would you all agree with that?
Yes.
I agree with it. And I would add to that, there are some things, I referred to us as an accelerant earlier to Emeraude. There are some things that you can't artificially accelerate, in my opinion. And one of those is time spent leading or working in a position to learn from a leader.
Absolutely.
And you just can't fake that. There's no shortcut to the wins and the losses. There's no shortcut to acquiring, a quiver of bad days and good days and the ways to get through that. And then learning people, learning how to motivate, to make, leadership's hard, right? Or it wouldn't be an issue. Learning how to make informed decisions that move your company forward. Man, that just takes time.
It does.
We need a spectrum of leadership. It's a spectrum of leadership, right? It's the enterprise leader has different challenges. They aren't necessarily harder or easier than other sides of the spectrum, but it does really lean on people leadership. It really leans into, can I help a group get behind a mission? Can we all row in the same direction together? And probably many more things that you could speak to far better than I. And then there's let's go on the total opposite side of the spectrum, and that's the startup founder, right? The person that has to kind of be a generalist, be a jack of all trades in the beginning, because I don't know a single startup founder that hasn't had to do things they've never done before and just figure it out on the fly. And that leadership is different. It's more about inspiration and vision, and a lot of the common characteristics that we talk about when we talk about startup founders, like grit and resilience, and one that doesn't get talked about enough is resourcefulness. Like someone who just, I will just find a way.
Resourcefulness.
It's not obvious, but I will find the way to the side, the other side of this chasm that I'm trying to get to. And that's a different kind of leader. So I think we need all. It isn't to be a growing, thriving, vibrant ecosystem, whether we're talking economic development or entrepreneurial development, you need both. You need all.
I personally think, I totally agree with you. the skills and capabilities of leadership, management, and entrepreneurship, right? They all overlap. But we need all of them. We need, when I think, because management is about dealing with complexity. So you create budgets, you staff, you organize, you problem solve, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas leadership is more about taking advantage of opportunities and changing. So to your point, getting people motivated. You've got to be able to set a direction as a leader collectively, get people aligned, and then motivate them to move forward. But within all of these, you need resourcefulness. And
That's
the more
fair.
resourcefulness you have, right, the better.
Yeah.
Because even if you're just engaged in a management activity of staffing, you've got to be very resourceful.
Yeah.
We know this.
Yeah. What's the creative, unique way I can achieve the goal with what we have?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think, a lot of times in Northwest Arkansas, I hear, we're short of this, we don't have that, we don't have this, we don't have that. No. What we're short of is developing leaders, developing managers, and developing entrepreneurs.
Yes. Praise.
I'd love to think of it. Love to talk about this. Resourcefulness is key, and the willingness to ask for support. But resourcefulness doesn't get you very far if there are no resources on which to lean. And I do think in Northwest Arkansas, we're resource heavy. There is a ton.
Good point.
There's a ton of expertise. There's access to people who have done or can do.
Yeah.
So the resources are there. But to your point, attracting or training people that are resourceful, that can manage, that can lead at scale, that's a different...
It is.
The thing I was thinking when you were saying that, and I'd be curious to because your time wrapping your head around what this region needs is important to kind of, I'm curious about it, and I want to dig in on it, because in my head I'm like, this region has needed venture capital, and I'm more oriented around the startup lens than I am around any enterprise lens. Like, this region has needed venture capital. And so we go out and try to solve for venture capital. We go out and do activities that try to bring venture capital into town. And I'm almost like, but there are other kinds of businesses that don't require venture capital. Like, in fact, a lot of the world is not dependent on venture capital. That's a way to drive innovation. That's a way to drive new venture development. It's not the only way. Lots of people bootstrap. But we don't build programs around driving that kind of innovation. It's kind of fascinating to me. Like, we get
services.
Yeah, like services. We get so focused on what we don't have and how to solve for that, as opposed to saying, well, how do we take what we have and double down? How do we?
That's resourcefulness.
It is. You're right. Yeah. That's why I was like. That's what I was thinking when you were talking. I was like, oh yeah, I can see these things we get, and this is very human. Right? It's very human to be like, let me focus on the thing I don't have and try to go get it.
Right.
As opposed to saying, well, that's fine, I don't have that. What can I do with what I have?
Right.
But I'm curious how you've seen that evolve over time, or have you seen things in this region, both as someone who had their hands on the wheel and also as someone who is now just building business inside of the ecosystem?
I think that we have solved for a number of the needs, or we are in the process of solving for some of the gaps, right? Especially around capital, whether it's, large VC opportunities or angel investing startup. And I've also seen more and more shops, CPG shops, services in retail that are growing beyond what they were when I was here. So it's almost as if, like, as I said, we're resource rich. There's a lot of talent.
Yes.
You have 1,000 some odd corporate offices here. There's a lot of talent. When I moved here, and really when I first started learning about Northwest Arkansas, because I'm a Little Rock guy, born and raised, my first time to Benton County that I knew of, I was working at Arkansas Business, and I came up to sell some ads to a guy named Kenny Tomlin who had a little tech company.
Oh, yeah.
And I came
Are
back.
you serious?
Yep. And I had 2 clients. Well, I had no clients when I came up. I left with 2, Beaver Water District and Rockfish. And an agreed upon meeting with Cameron Smith. Those were the 3 wins.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great
And
people.
I came back, and the rest of the state just didn't know yet that this entire industry was growing underneath the world's largest retailer.
Well,
Yeah.
so Rockfish is interesting because if you look at so many entrepreneurial organizations in Northwest Arkansas that have succeeded, many of them have people that came out of
Yeah,
Rockfish.
it was
right.
I mean,
That's me. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be here if Rockfish didn't happen.
Exactly, right? And Palladino and all
Yeah,
that, right?
Palladino
Yeah.
and Joe don't start Rev Unit. Rev Unit doesn't buy Teamwork.
which was his company.
Right.
I don't move here and start Cartwheel. Cartwheel doesn't become Fieldbook. And that's just one thread. There's a
Well,
half dozen.
so
and
many of
even
them.
Cameron Smith. So when I moved here in '94, not long after that, I opened an office in Beauterre. Beauterre Office Park in Bentonville was the first vendor office park, really.
Okay.
And it was owned by a couple of Walmart executives. Both, I think, have passed away. But I started a consulting firm. I was still a professor, but on the side I had a consulting firm. And I had an office up there. It was called Bentonville Associates. And my next door neighbor in the office park was Cameron Smith. He had just moved here. And his idea was, right, with all of these, with Walmart's growth and some of the teams that are moving here, there's going to be a lot more moving here in the future.
Mm-hmm.
He had been doing recruiting for the medical industry in Los Angeles. He took a risk and changed what he was doing dramatically. And I would say pivoted, but Mark Zweig would slap me. But he changed what he was doing and started recruiting, for these teams. And before long, he opened offices in other places. But so what you're getting at here, Josh, is that how all these things lead to other things.
Right.
And it's so critical. It's so important. So when you came up here, you saw the very beginnings of
I
that.
saw the beginnings of it, and then what Cameron saw, right? Like, we don't have to these Fortune 500 companies that are supporting the world's largest retailer. Well, they can keep attracting people in. They can keep hiring and promoting folks from Cincinnati or Chicago or wherever it is to come here. But there's also, those people, the story is, right, the trailing spouse was like, no way.
Yeah.
And then they're here and they realize how amazing it is. And then they get called back to a different account and the trailing spouse is like, no way am I leaving. And Cameron helped create that.
He did.
And you now see that, but with different skill sets. And because there's more skill sets that are needed, in retail in general. There's an energy drink company in our office that I think used to only be the sales office, and now their entire supply chain's there, right? So there are so many companies that are thinking about not just the sales side, but the evolution side. And I may have stolen that information right from something you told me.
No, that's right. You're right. But that's it. You have outpost offices becoming established offices, growing supply chain offices, which I probably heard it from Matt, and then you heard it from me, where it's literally a circle of stealing ideas from each other, which is the way it should be. But I believe that I see outpost offices here becoming bigger offices.
Right.
Now they're going to have their international sales team office here. I think Hershey's has that example. Like, there are large offices here now. It's not just the sales team, to your point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go back to the resourcefulness thing on one point, and that is, I think this is a region that has such an incredible, rich talent pool of folks that understand retail. And you always call out, they also understand supply chain in a way that most other locations that have heavy retail talent don't. And I would love for you to touch on that when I pause here. And I think about, man, that's the talent pool. That's what we have. How do we accelerate what that is? How do we turn that into the engine that drives the next, again, 10, 20, 30 plus years? And maybe it's services, maybe it's other types of businesses. I would love to see, and this is just a call to action for anybody listening who has money, but I would love to see folks that have money, that care about philanthropy and care about economic development and want to see this region grow, to really look at that pool of people and ask themselves, how can I contribute to helping those folks start the next business that's going to employ, the next 100 folks that move to town, and the next 500 folks that move after them, and the next 3,000 that move after them. I think that's a thing that we should just be constantly asking ourselves, like, how do we take what we have and double down? How do we take what we have and pump a little fuel into it?
Totally agree. I mean, one thing you've always heard me say is that if you look at the density of supply chain talent in Northwest Arkansas, it's greater than anywhere in the world, right? Density. Not total population, but density.
Like per capita style.
Yeah. And the thing is, and one thing you were kind of alluding to, if you look at brokers or sales teams in Northwest Arkansas, and you look at salespeople on those teams, now go to Cincinnati or Minneapolis or Seattle. Look at those same people, those same salespeople that are at brokers or these CPG companies, and if you were to give them an exam to see which ones understand supply chain better, they win here. Mm-hmm. In fact, I know this is true from personal experience, because I was here in the 90s when our college, I was one of the few supply chain professors that we were placing people on these teams because they couldn't get them to move from New Jersey or wherever,
right. Yeah.
To your point earlier.
Yeah.
And so our students were lucky enough to get these cherry jobs as a CPFR analyst or whatever it may have been. Well, after 5 years, from 1995 to 2000, all of a sudden, because Walmart and Kmart were the same size in 1993.
That's crazy.
But Walmart blew them away by 2000. So now these young men and women who are in supply chain on our teams here in town, in the year 2000, all of a sudden they have experience with the most innovative supply chain processes, like back then it was collaborative planning, forecasting, and replenishment, CPFR, SNOP, sales and operations planning, et cetera, with the largest customer in the world.
Right.
Now, they're like gold. So here's the interesting thing that has happened. Because of that, those young people now are senior executives in the year 2025, 20 years later from graduating. They're senior executives in the top 500 CPG companies in the United States.
Wow.
Okay? That's one of the reasons why the Walton College at the university has done so well. These people now are coming back to recruit, and they have been for over 10 years, but they've got some, cachet to be able to say, hey, we're going to recruit there.
Yeah.
And they're doing it, and it's helping our students. But the other thing is, it's I think you both know this. The Walton College now has the number one ranked supply chain management program in the United States, according to Gartner. Undergrad and
Which
number
is thanks
two.
to you, just to call
Well,
it out.
no, I don't think it's. I was lucky. I was in the right place at the right time. But to your point, man, we've got this talent is spread out everywhere. I mean, our supply chain majors wind up taking jobs in sales and category management and brokerage and everything. So we wind up having supply chain talent in all functional areas. That gives us a competitive advantage, because supply chain management is all about being resourceful and making sure that, customers are satisfied, essentially, at the lowest possible cost, which includes transportation costs, material handling costs, et cetera, et cetera.
This reminds me, so I worked at 1-800 Contacts. You might be familiar. You wear glasses. I don't know if you've ever worn contacts.
No. I've tried.
I got LASIK in 2001.
Okay, so fast story, 1-800 Contacts. Jonathan Kuhn's the founder. Founded it out of his BYU dorm. Goes on to become a very successful, when I was there, north of 500 million. I don't know where they're at today. I won't posit on what it is, but the thing he had that he really pushed throughout the whole organization was a formula. And he would say, satisfaction equals reality minus expectation. So what does that mean when you really break it down? It's like, when as a call center agent, you set the expectation. We have to beat that expectation with reality, right? And that's where satisfaction is created. When you think it's going to get to your house in 5 to 7 days, and it gets to your house in 3 days, we created satisfaction. So, and how do you do that throughout the whole organization? That was kind of the challenge of Jonathan Kuhn and with that formula. So, satisfaction equals reality minus expectation. And as I'm thinking about what you're saying right now with talent, understanding supply chain, like if you don't know kind of the upstream, downstream of the way you create value, what happens before I touch a product, what happens after I touch a product, to have that knowledge, to have that understanding, you do have an advantage. If in nothing else than in being able to create more value, if you believe in a formula like that.
I love that. And that's one of the reasons why I like to refer to our core competence in Northwest Arkansas as the retail value chain.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you articulated it perfectly, and I think this is a good segue.
Okay.
Tell us about Embark.
Yeah, so Embark Summit is a one-day conference happening during Retail Innovation Week, which will be from September 15th through the 18th. There's a series of other events happening that week. Dunnhumby Ventures is coming into town to host an event they hosted last year. They've agreed to host it that week. I believe it's on Thursday. Apologies if I'm wrong to Leo. We also have CIS, which is hosted by Ethan Walton. That stands for Consumer Impact Summit.
Right.
That'll be happening that week. And then, yes, Embark. There's other events happening that week. But Embark Summit is focused on CPG stories related into retail. So we're not going to be talking a lot about, let's say, retail tech, but we will be talking about consumer packaged goods and how they impact retail and how those two interplay. And what I've learned is that retail and CPG don't tend to be at the same event, which is an interesting dichotomy, like an interesting thing to find out, that people go to retail events like NRF to talk retail and retail tech, and people go to CPG-centric events to go talk about what's happening in CPG land. And it's like, we kind of want to have...
I'm going to add one more.
Go ahead.
Supply chain.
And then, yes, supply chain, absolutely. So our event is more CPG-centric. We're going to try to blend that world more than has been done in the past, the retail and CPG, but it is more CPG-centric. We focused it on storytelling, so we have a number of CPG founders and CEO representatives who are going to be there speaking, telling stories. Our keynote is actually Jesse Itzler. If you don't know who Jesse Itzler is, he's more of a motivational speaker than he is like a thought leader in CPG, but has been a partner at Zico Water, which sold to Coca-Cola, has had CPG experience. He also owned a Marquis Jet, or was a co-founder at Marquis Jets, which sold to Berkshire Hathaway. He's known for writing New York best-selling books like Living with a Navy SEAL. I may be butchering the name of that book, but anyway, he's a powerful, inspirational speaker. He's going to kick us off, sharing a little bit about his Zico story, among other stories. We've got the founder of Lifeway Foods, which sells a kefir drink that's very popular in Walmart. Mm-hmm. Kala Power founder, Unbothered Foods CEO, Stephanie Stuckey, who I just think is a fascinating story. She bought her family's business back. Are you familiar with Stuckey's?
Sure.
Pecan brand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you'd road tripped in the South, you've been at a Stuckey's. They used to own a bunch of convenience stores. So that kind of went under, and then she bought the brand back and has rebuilt it from scratch and did it very publicly, did it through social media, and gained this huge following of people following her story of building that brand back. I love her story, and we're just excited to have her on stage. And there's a lot of people like that are going to share their stories. We have some local people. There's actually 2 stages sharing stories, like Eric Howerton, who we all know and love, talking about Hat Fury, along with some coworkers of his there, and a number of other speakers doing things here in the region in the retail space. And then we're also hosting network homes that evening. So there's going to be a series of row homes throughout downtown Bentonville where you can go grab drinks, hang out, get to know each other, kind of wind down. There's going to be entertainment at each of those homes. It should be a fun evening. We're going to wrap the evening over at House of Songs. Our friend Troy is going to curate some amazing music for us to everybody will close out the evening there. And so we got welcome events happening Monday. You can go do a Walmart campus tour led by the director of real estate. You can do a museum tour, private museum tour in the morning. And we just have a lot happening all that
This
week.
is exciting.
Yeah.
And then, wait.
Sorry.
The most important part, we have an amazing MC for the feature stage. It's one of the best individuals for doing this for hosting this event, because they have, one, they're very well spoken, as you've noted earlier, and two, because they're in the room right now.
Yeah. Yeah. The check is at the front desk as you leave. What I thank you, and really thank you for asking. This is I grew up playing in punk rock bands because I sucked at sports, but I was never the best musician. But what I did do was stand in the middle and command attention. So this gives me a great opportunity to lean into that learned leadership skill of standing in the middle and commanding attention. This conference, Embark, I think embodies what I've come to know and love about Bentonville. And in fact, we are not afraid to name and claim some stuff in Bentonville, mountain bike capital of the world. When you drive into Bentonville, you see a giant neon sign that says "You belong here," right? Yeah. And if you are in retail, you belong here, right? And you're not only gonna. It's not just having proximity to all these thought leaders. You're going to have access to a lot of thought leaders and experience at this conference.
Yes.
And then you're going to get to experience some authentic Bentonville.
Yes.
Because there is an opportunity to get outdoors and enjoy some trails, whether
mountain biking.
Yeah. Mountain biking or greenway riding or whatever it is. And then, another thing that Bentonville is known for, Northwest Arkansas is known for, arts, creativity. And as you mentioned, you're going to have these 3 houses, all with a distinct vibe, all with different art and creativity happening. And then culinary, right? We're all about some food. So, and then you mentioned a number of the speakers. I was so fortunate when I was running the Bentonville Area Chamber of Commerce to learn from people like Gail at Call It Power.
Oh, yeah.
And here's my plug for the Bentonville Area Chamber of Commerce. You want some interesting programming, there's so many organizations, whether it's 8th and Walton, whether it's doing business in Bentonville, whether it's the chamber. Go and get engaged, because they're going to give you access to a lot of the folks that you might find at a conference like this, but you wouldn't find at a conference anywhere else, right? And if you want to learn from the person that knows more about frozen, packaged pizza crust, you're going to learn about it in Bentonville. If you want to learn from the person that knows more about packaging for dry macaroni, you're going to learn about that in Bentonville. And when you look at we have our finger on the pulse of the growing segments of retail, right? And you mentioned a lot of this to me, but whether it's protein or whether it's dining at home, so restaurant offerings, but in the comfort of your own home, we have our finger on the pulse of that, and it's also just a great place to be. So I can't wait for it. It's going to be a good time.
So, Josh, how do people sign up for this?
Yeah, I want to throw up a marketing promo code that you can use to get a discount here in a minute, so don't let me forget that. But you go to embarksummit.com. That's where you can learn about the event.
How do you spell that?
Ooh, you're going to make me spell right now? EMBARK Summit, SUMMIT.com. And if you use the promo code BEACON with a capital B, just that one word, BEACON, you get 25% off, and all proceeds, if you use that code, goes to the chamber.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So we wanted to make sure we did something with this event that contributes to the future of what the chamber does for the region, which even makes it more appropriate with giving your history for you to be emceeing on at this event. So yeah.
A lot of different people are going to be listening to this. Who in particular would you like to see there?
At the event? Yeah. I think if you're an emerging CPG brand all the way up to an enterprise CPG brand, you're going to want to be in the audience. You're going to want to hear these stories
I think there's going to be education shared too. There's going to be insight shared. I think there's a lot of events. There's Shop Talk and NRF and Expo. There's lots of events that will give you depth of insight into the latest and greatest of what's happening in retail media and shopper marketing and all these different segments of what their jobs are on a day-to-day basis. This is going to be about inspiration and getting to know each other and sharing stories. There's not enough of that. And this is a town, to what Graham was saying earlier, around how a lot of these activities you can engage in before the event, like mountain biking and Crystal Bridges tours and other tours. This is a town that is about connecting with one another. And Graham had said earlier, outside of this podcast, that this town is, or maybe you said it during it, but this town is, what makes this town unique is that it's flat and approachable and reachable. You can have conversations with anybody.
True.
Yeah.
So I think at the heart of what makes us special is that. I absolutely agree with what Graham said when he said that. And then how do we leverage this event in that same way? It's like, come to the event, get out of your box on a Tuesday in the middle of September. Come listen to some amazing speakers who have innovated or delivered exceptional experiences in their own way, in their own category, in consumer packaged goods. Meet other people in that space. Yes, we have definitely got plenty of folks from the local favorites attending based on the email addresses of people who've signed up, the big retailers and others in town. But what I'm most excited about is to see a lot of CPG folks in town, like all really collaborating and kind of being there together. I don't think we have enough events that get them motivated to get out of their boxes.
I had the fortune of serving in a leadership capacity, on a board capacity, on national chamber groups, right? So I got to learn about the businesses that people were engaged with in Tulsa or Oklahoma City or Indianapolis or Des Moines or LA or you name it, Chicago, Raleigh, Durham, on, Charlotte. None of them were as approachable and accessible and willing to help as the businesses in Bentonville. And it's not that they might have a version of those businesses there, but they just weren't. I don't know. There wasn't that familiarity. There wasn't that collaborative spirit. And you just got to show, every now and then, you owe it to yourself to invest in yourself, to inspire yourself. And going to events like this is just the way to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're if you're here, you're not taking advantage of being here.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Well, Graham and Josh, thank you so much for taking time to talk about this outstanding opportunity. And we're so fortunate to live here and be able to be a part of this growth that's occurring.
Yeah.
Great talking to you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, same.
We'll
Thank you,
see
man.
you.